Gutfeld. Listen and follow now so you never miss a moment of the action-packed highlights from these must-watch Fox News Channel shows. Go to foxnewspodcasts.com or wherever you listen to podcasts. America's listening to Fox News. Fox News Audio presents Unsolved with James Patterson. Every crime tells a story, but some stories are left unfinished.
The thing that I'm so afraid of is I don't know how much evidence is left to even point the finger at the true person.
Best-selling mystery author James Patterson takes listeners into the core of some of America's most haunting mysteries. Real cases, real people. The Unsolved with James Patterson podcast. Listen and follow now at foxtruecrime.com.
Our report from India.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Losing a young girl to guns. I'm Jarrett Lewis. Here's what's trending this hour. A shooting on the north side of Indianapolis Friday afternoon leaves a little girl dead. IMPD officer Tommy Thompson says that girl was in a home with all kinds of guns around.
In this instance, they were unsecured in a manner that we just can't have little children handling firearms.
He believes she picked up at least one of the guns and used it on herself, which resulted in her death. All the guns in the home were seized, and investigation continues. Investigators in Vigo County are determining the death of a man and his sister to be a murder-suicide. 59-year-old Keith Cheney and 63-year-old Kathy Cunning were both found dead in a residential area Wednesday. The Vigo County Sheriff's Office believes Cheney shot his sister before taking his own life. An Indianapolis City County councilor is facing allegations of sexual abuse. The woman, Lauren Embry, tells Wish TV that her and Democratic councilor Keith Graves were in a relationship between 2020 and 2022, and that she was abused on multiple occasions. Graves, in his own statement released this week, is denying the allegations, calling them alarming and false. He has since stepped down as leader of the Education Committee. And the warmer temperatures, with some days reaching 90 degrees, are continuing this month.
We've certainly had the heat wave in June, and it's been a warmer, hotter, and more humid summer than usual. So even with the severe threat, keep in mind, stay hydrated, stay cool, because it's going to be hot and humid out there.
Alex McGinnis with the National Weather Service in Indianapolis says much of the state will be in the mid to high 80s all of next week, too. On Saturday, we saw brief severe weather for the first time in a while in some spots. I'm Jarrett Lewis on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
High temperatures will be getting into the lower 90s, very humid air, peak heat index values likely in the mid to upper 90s. Tonight, rain exits, lows in the low 70s. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Ryan Morse for 93 WIBC.
Everybody knows Hubler's got the best warranty around. 10 years, 200,000 miles. But did you know? Now you can get that same limited powertrain warranty on new Toyotas. Introducing the all-new Hubler Toyota. Get grand opening savings all month long. And right now, lease a new 2025 RAV4, just $349 per month. Or a new Tacoma, $299 per month. Plus, choose from Camrys, Corollas, Highlanders, Tundras, and more.
Hubler's got you covered.
At the all-new Hubler Toyota on US 31 South in Indianapolis. Visit HublerToyota.com. Grand opening savings and the best warranty around. 10 years, 200,000 miles.
Cover me!
Select models, approved credit, plus tax tag title license 199 dealer doc. RAV4 model 4432, Tacoma model 7540, 36 months, $29.99 due, zero security, 10,000 annual miles, 15 cents per mile thereafter. Expires 7/31.
Quality Supply and Tool, your premier supplier of construction equipment, tools, and supplies, is hiring CDL drivers. Call Brian Myers at 317-690-2016. Indy Humane. Find your new best friend today. Visit indyhumane.org.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is the Second Amendment, and this is the Gun Guy.
Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, bang, bang.
With Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And good afternoon, and welcome to the Gun Guy Show here on 93 WIBC. Thrilled to have you with us. Shout out to the good folks who came to my Essentials of Indiana gun law class out at Indy Arms today. We were there from 9 to 2 and had a great turnout, great discussion. A lot of really good questions and comments, and a lot of back and forth. But 5 hours, as you hear me pitch here on the show all the time, of a detailed discussion of Indiana gun laws, the use of force and self-defense, including the use of deadly force. And it was a lot of fun to have the group out there. Thanks to Tony Gregory and the good folks at Indy Arms for hosting us, as they often do. My next one of those courses, by the way, is going to be out in Avon at Parabellum. And I'll talk about that more in the show. But thanks to the good folks who came out and spent their Saturday morning with us. That was awesome. I'm excited to do the show today. It's actually, and I think I alluded to this a couple of weeks ago, it's actually the first show since the 10th anniversary of The Gun Guy Show. The Gun Guy Show first aired on WIBC on July 11th, so yesterday being the actual anniversary, of 2015. And, you know, I look back on the last 10 years, and first of all, I'm shocked that it's been 10 years. It doesn't seem like that. I often still sort of feel like the rookie around here in terms of being a broadcaster and having a show on the radio. I've enjoyed the hell out of it, and it's been a lot of fun, and I particularly enjoy the interaction with callers and listeners. That's a part of my show that makes us a little different. I think we're the only show that for the entire duration takes calls from the listening audience. And I could be wrong. I'm not quite sure whether the Home and Garden show, maybe on Saturday mornings, might also do the same thing. Love Denny Smith. If you remember, that's a show that goes way back into the 60s. It was a show called Dr. Dirt back in the day. It literally goes back to the 60s. Pat Sullivan, I think, has been on since like 95, 30 years. So he makes my my tenures look a little silly. But I've really enjoyed over the last 10 years the fact that we take calls throughout the show, and I enjoy doing that. It can make it a little tough to prepare for, in the sense that you never quite know where the show's going based on what calls and questions and comments that we get, and therefore launch us into discussions in areas that perhaps were a little unanticipated at the beginning of the show. But to me, that's what's fun. It's a little like playing tennis. I'm not a tennis player by any means. I shoot guns and ride Harleys. I don't have time for tennis or golf, for that matter. But it reminds me, having watched a little tennis, it reminds me of being a tennis player at the net. And you never quite know what's coming over, but you charge the net. Now you got to do the best you can to handle whatever's coming at you and get it back over the net. That's always what taking calls throughout the show feels like to me. But I love it. I enjoy it. When I fill in for Hammer or Nigel during the week on Hammer and Nigel, and they do Ask the Gun Guy, it's always exactly the same thing, where you have no idea what's coming in, but it makes it fun. So thank you for the listening audience. Thanks to WIBC for having me on for the last 10 years. And I'll tell you a little story. I don't think I've ever told this on the air before. I told it to my wife the other day, and she got a kick out of it. But right after the program director here, David Wood, asked me if I wanted to have my own show, and we worked out the details. And I was honored to come in and start doing it. But the programming people here set up a meeting between me and the sales force, the people that sell advertising here on WIBC. And we actually had the meeting out at what's now called Range USA, I believe, in Carmel. It used to be Point Blank. And they have a shooting range there, and they also had a classroom that they were nice enough to let us use. And we had a meeting with our sales group, and then for those that wanted to, I went in and did a little bit of a firearms course where they were able to come in after some instruction on safety and marksmanship and whatnot. They were able to shoot some different guns that I brought, different handguns and rifles and whatnot. But the main thing was to familiarize the salespeople with what my show was going to be about, so that they could then, understanding the show, go out and sell advertising. And the only thing I really remember about that meeting, now being 10 years ago, is one of the younger sales folks. And I honestly, I don't interact with those folks all that often anymore. I don't know whether this gentleman is still with WIBC or not. But one of the salespeople, as I'm describing the show and introducing myself and talking about what I wanted the format to be about and the content, subjects matter and whatnot, one of the younger sales folks said, "Well, hold on, let me make sure I understand. Are you telling me you're going to have a whole 2-hour show just about gun stuff?" And he kind of had a cynical look on his face. He certainly had a bit of a cynical, if not perhaps somewhat sarcastic tone in asking me the question. And he was kind of shaking his head. And he goes, "You're going to talk for 2 hours once a week about gun stuff?" And I said, "Well, gun stuff is a pretty broad category. I mean, we're talking about what's going on politically, what's going on in the legislature, what's going on in the courts. Also we can get into technical gun stuff. We can talk about gun ownership, responsible gun use. We can get into a lot of different subjects relating to quote-unquote gun stuff." And so, yeah, that essentially is going to be it. And here's the quote. Here's the part that I'll always remember. And I should go try to decide if this person is still around WIBC or not, because I'd love to buy him a beer or whatnot and get his perspective. But what he then said is, he said, "Listen, I wish you wild success. I hope you have a great show. I hope it's very successful." And this is the part that always stuck in my memory. He said, "I hope your show is so successful that 5 years from now, you still have a show. But to be honest with you, I'm not really sure the content is going to justify a whole 2 hours of broadcasting." And so it had, and listen, this is somebody who I'm sure understands radio better than I did at the time, or perhaps better than I do now. And I thought, well, okay, if it doesn't work out, I mean, I wasn't really looking for this job when I found it. And I've enjoyed the hell out of it, certainly over 10 years. But I thought, okay, well, it doesn't work out, then, my full-time job is as an attorney, and I'm doing the radio really to inform people, to engage people, and for fun, and the interaction with the listening public. And so I've had that sort of 5-year mark in the back of my head after this kid said, I say kid, he's probably in his 20s, said, "Man, I hope it's wildly successful. I hope it lasts for 5 years, but I don't see it." And I kind of thought, well, okay, maybe I'm doomed to failure from the beginning. But hey, 10 years later, all I can do is say thanks to the listening audience, thanks to people who buy advertising, which is the name of the game, got to pay the bills. Thanks to the salespeople who have sold that advertising that you hear here during the show. But most of all, thanks to the listening audience and people who call in, people who listen, whether you listen live, whether you tune into the YouTube video broadcast, participate in the chat feature there on YouTube, whether you listen on the podcast, whether it's later Saturday or sometime during the week, podcast is always out there to listen to whenever you want to. But thank you all, because I couldn't have been here for these 10 years without the support. So thanks for that. I'll tell you what, we'll take a break. We come back. Let's get into the discussion. I'll stop waxing sentimental here over the anniversary and get into more substantive issues here on The Gun Guy Show. Give us a call. Join the discussion, 317-239-9393. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Another update is just minutes away.
Protesters clash with ICE agents in California,
facing off with Homeland Security officers.
Large-scale raids in the region.
Hear the news.
A man shot in the neck this morning near 19th and Rural Street.
Transported to a local hospital, pain to his neck.
As events happen,
severe weather could happen this weekend.
We'll happen to be there.
A statewide threat more to the north, Muncie up to Fort Wayne.
Damaging winds, biggest threat you'll face.
93 WIBC Mobile News.
Guy Relford for Tactical Firearms Training. As I mentioned, I taught an Indiana gun law class out at Indy Arms today. We've got our next one scheduled for October 18th, so it goes a little bit into the fall. And I'm sure I'll have more dates scheduled between now and then. But right now, if you want to sign up at Parabellum, this is in Avon. It's also on a Saturday, October 18th at Parabellum Firearms and Indoor Range right there on Kingston Street in Avon, 9 a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. It's $50 for an individual, $95 for couples. It's 5 hours, the most important legal information you need as an Indiana gun owner. The course always gets great reviews. We'd love to have you join us. You can sign up right online. Go to tactical-firearms.com. Just click on upcoming courses at tactical-firearms.com.
Farnsworth Metal Recycling, a familiar face in Indy.
Farnsworth Metal Recycling will pay you cash for your scrap metal. Ray's Demolition and Farnsworth Metal Recycling may seem familiar to you, and that's because they are. They're trusted local family-owned businesses going back 3 generations in Indy with their familiar orange logo and a name you know. But you may not know they'll pay you cash for your scrap metal. Cash is king. Your scrap aluminum, steel, copper, and brass will get you cash from Farnsworth Metal Recycling. Just drop it off or schedule a pickup, and you'll put cash in your pocket. Ray's Demolition and Farnsworth Metal Recycling. Local names you can trust with 2 locations.
Farnsworth Metal Recycling, familiar face in Indy.
Get cash for your scrap. Get started at farnsworthmetals.com. Everyone's talking about Galaxy Concrete Coatings and their transformation, like business owner Brian.
Yeah, Galaxy was great. We have a business where a lot of the service techs are working out in the field, and they'll come in and they'll have even some mud or something on our shoes. So if we're having a meeting, I needed a flooring that could stand up to that, but still look good as an office setting.
Well, if you own a home or a business, Galaxy Concrete Coatings got you covered.
Galaxy was great to work around our schedule. They were able to come in on a Saturday, and the job was completed over the weekend, and we were back in business, so we didn't miss a step.
Lots of styles to choose from, 4 times stronger than epoxy, and it comes with a lifetime warranty.
It's very nice looking. It's very durable. Really makes the room stand out and shine.
Click on GalaxyConcreteCoatings.com now. That's Galaxy Concrete Coatings. And remember to like us on Facebook. Galaxy Concrete Coatings. We're out of this world.
Galaxy was quick to respond. They were quick to give us a solution and quick to get it completed as well. And they're going to take care of you.
Comcast Business helps turn today's small businesses into engines of modern business. It's how restaurants become reliably up and running neighborhood favorites. How retailers become seamlessly restocking, cyber-securing, must-visit shops. And how healthcare offices become the data managing caregivers that we all depend on. With reliable connectivity, enhanced cybersecurity, advanced fiber solutions, and Wi-Fi backup, Comcast Business is powering the engine of modern business. Powering possibilities.
Now through July 21st, new customers can get started with 300 megabit internet and Security Edge for $69 a month for 24 months with a 2-year agreement. Plus, find out how to get a $500 prepaid card for your business. Call and switch to Comcast Business today. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and automatic payments with bank account. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra.
Road trip! This summer at Tire Discounters, your tires are your passport to savings, because you're driving to Paris,
Texas,
then it's off to Rome,
Georgia,
and you'll be kissing the Blarney Stone in Dublin,
Ohio.
Right now, save up to $434 when you buy 4 tires, and that includes a free alignment and oil change. Stop at Tire Discounters before you see the world.
Housing discrimination because of race, color, or national origin is against the law. If you believe you've experienced housing discrimination, contact HUD at hud.gov/fair housing.
Through their service, veterans have our backs. Now we should have theirs. Learn more at gotyoursix.org.
Second to none on the Second Amendment. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. Pleased to have you with us. I'll tell you what, we had a bunch of callers already, so let's go right to the phone lines and welcome in Let's see. It's Buzz. Buzz, welcome back to the Gun Guy Show, man.
Hey, congratulations, my good man.
Oh, yeah. 10 whole years, man. A lot of people didn't see it coming, but we're still here. So
all us gun nuts love it.
There
So
you go.
There you go.
There you go. Well, thank you, Buzz.
Okay, Guy, since the new bill was passed and now you do not have to pay an actual tax, isn't that just the Treasury Department creating their own gun registry?
Yeah, and Buzz, there's a great legal argument to support exactly what you're saying, and let me give folks some background so they understand the context. And that is that since 1934, the National Firearms Act has been in place that restricts ownership of certain classes of firearms. We refer to them generically as a category as NFA items. But you're talking about suppressors and short-barreled rifles, that is rifles with barrels less than 16 inches, short-barreled shotguns, which are shotguns with barrels less than 18 inches, machine guns, what are called any other weapon. It's kind of a broad category of concealable firearms for the most part, and then destructive devices, very large bore firearms, explosive devices. It's kind of a generic description. But for those classes of firearms, starting in 1934, and this came out of a concern over gangland violence, the mobs. And a lot of this was glorified in Hollywood movies back in the 20s and 30s. But you're talking about, shootouts between, the Al Capone types, the Machine Gun Kelly, and Bonnie and Clyde, and on, John Dillinger. But you had these outlaws out there. A lot of it happened during Prohibition, where you had gun or rum runners and whatnot. You had bank robbers out there like John Dillinger, and you had these shootouts, and a lot of these bad guys started using weapons. And according to Congress, anyway, they were concerned about machine guns, short-barreled rifles, and short-barreled shotguns that could be hidden under your overcoat or whatever. Suppressors that allowed, in the view of Congress, sort of silent ninja assassins to roam around and kill people without being detected, which, of course, is not how suppressors actually work. But out of that concern, they passed the National Firearms Act. And this was at a time when Congress still respected the Second Amendment. They were concerned if they just banned certain things, that would get overturned as unconstitutional. And so the National Firearms Act is not even in the criminal code. If you look at where it's enacted, it's in the Internal Revenue Code. It's in the tax code. And it was justified constitutionally to say, well, we're not banning anything. We're just taxing. We're taxing these things. And that's why there's been a $200 tax stamp that you have to pay for either making or transferring into your possession an NFA item. Well, the big, beautiful bill that Buzz actually alluded to, that was just signed into law on July 4th, and goes into effect January 1. How that timing works is it goes into effect 90 days after it's published in the Federal Register. It's going to be published at the end of this quarter. We're into the third quarter now, not by much, but it's the third quarter. So it gets published at the end of the third quarter, which is the end of September, 1st of October, and then it goes into effect 90 days from then. So that makes it January 1. And what Buzz is asking is, well, wait a minute. If it's only justified as a tax statute, and in fact, there's a Supreme Court case on that. It's called Szynski. It's from 1937, so not long after the NFA was passed. The Supreme Court actually upheld the National Firearms Act based on Congress's power to tax, not as a firearm regulatory law. And there's a quote out of that decision. A quote right out of the decision says a tax may have regulatory effects and may burden, restrict, or suppress the thing being taxed, but it is still within the taxing power of Congress. So they were justifying the whole NFA based on Congress's ability to tax. And the question that Buzz asked, which is totally legitimate, which is, wait a minute, if the tax goes away, it doesn't go away as to everything regulated by the NFA. The machine guns and destructive devices still have the $200 tax associated with them. But under the big, beautiful bill, suppressors, short-barreled rifles, short-barreled shotguns, and AOWs go down to a 0% tax. So the question becomes, wait a minute, if the whole statute is only justified based on Congress's constitutional ability to levy taxes, and as to 4 of the 6 categories of firearms being regulated, the tax has gone away, doesn't that alleviate the constitutional justification for the bill as a whole, or at least as to the 4 items for which now there is no tax? And in fact, the Gun Owners of America group, and I think Second Amendment Foundation, and perhaps a couple of other pro-Second Amendment rights groups have already filed that lawsuit. And they're citing the Szynski case from 1937, saying, hold on, this whole statute was only justified based on Congress's ability to tax. If they're not taxing anymore, all they're doing is registering, and a registry nationally for firearms or classes of firearms is not supported constitutionally. That's not something Congress is able to do. That lawsuit's been filed. That may very likely result in NFA either as a whole or at a minimum as to the 4 categories of firearms for which the tax is going away being held to be unconstitutional. Great question, and interesting at that. So thanks to Buzz. Let's go back to the phone lines. Robert has called. Robert, welcome to the Gun Guy Show.
Hey, Guy.
Hello.
I don't know if you saw this story. I think Kendall and Casey covered it a couple weeks ago. There's a property tax case out of Lake County that
just went to the Indiana Supreme Court.
Yes. I was wondering, I guess the Supreme Court is going to have to define what curtilage is in that case. And would that affect the Castle Doctrine?
Would that affect what? I just missed your last couple of words.
The Castle Doctrine and
the Castle Doctrine. Yes. No, it's a great question, Robert. It's a very, very, very smart question, and I really appreciate you calling in. Here's what's going on, and I actually talked about this a little bit during my gun law class that I taught at Indy Arms today. The Castle Doctrine that Robert correctly referenced says that you can use reasonable force, including deadly force, to either prevent or terminate an unlawful entry into or attack upon your dwelling, curtilage, and occupied motor vehicle. And that's what we refer to as the Castle Doctrine. So people have read that over the years, and I've always had kind of a standing joke. I've been teaching my gun law class for, in different forms, probably for 20 years. And whenever I refer to that statute, I talk about curtilage, and I say, now, you may be curious as to what exactly a curtilage is, because that's not a word that a lot of us are familiar with in everyday language. And then I'll say, well, let me tell you, as someone who's studied gun laws and professes to be somewhat of a scholar in this area and educate other lawyers in this area, and I've studied this intently, let me tell you exactly what the definition of curtilage is. And, kind of looked at me expectantly, at which point I say, I have no damn idea. And the only reason is, and there are a couple of cases out there nationally. In fact, there's a U.S. Supreme Court case that I talked about during my class today that give you the factors to determine what curtilage is. But here's where curtilage came from. In Europe, when people really lived in castles, the law developed that you could defend your castle with force, including deadly force, simply because it's your home. You don't have to fear injury. You don't have to fear getting hurt like you do out on the street. If it's your home and someone's trying to unlawfully enter or attack your home, you can defend your home, including with deadly force. And that's where the Castle Doctrine came from. But then they expanded it to some degree because the curtilage, when people were really living in castles, where we derived the Castle Doctrine, the curtilage was the area outside the castle walls The curtilage of the castle was essentially the area outside the castle walls that was used to support activities or products or goods or whatever items that supported and fed the castle. In other words, it was an area where they stored grain or dried meats or kept the farm animals or the farming equipment, all of which was essential to feed the castle. So it wasn't within the castle walls, but it was the curtilage of the castle. And bad guys, or people who wanted to, burn out or starve out, otherwise lay siege to a castle, figured out pretty soon that they could starve out the castle faster if they destroyed the curtilage, which was the area outside the castle walls used to support the castle. And so the law developed that you can support your curtilage the same way you can support what's inside your castle. Well, that's awesome if you actually live in a castle, but how does that apply to the Indiana self-defense statute that says I can use reasonable force, including deadly force, to either prevent or terminate an unlawful entry into or attack on my dwelling, curtilage, or occupied motor vehicle? I understand pretty well what my occupied motor vehicle is, and I understand what my dwelling is. There's actually a statutory definition. So your dwelling is basically where you're living. Could be temporary, could be your hotel room, could be the tent in which you're sleeping in a campground, could be your home that's permanent. It could be movable or fixed. It could be your RV that you drove to a campsite, you're now sleeping in your RV, that's your dwelling at the time, or it could be fixed, like your apartment. So it could be temporary or permanent, movable or fixed, but it's where you're living. So, okay, dwelling, we got that down. Occupied, and this has to be your occupied motor vehicle. Well, okay, I know what a motor vehicle is. I know when it's occupied, so I got that one pretty well figured out too. But what the hell's curtilage? And there are some cases that have developed that say, well, there are factors you should consider, which is how close the area claimed to be curtilage is to the dwelling. All right, well, the closer the better. It doesn't say how close is necessary. And then it helps if the curtilage or area claimed to be curtilage is also within an enclosure that also encloses the home. So what are we talking about there? We're talking about you got a big security fence around your home. Well, other areas within the curtilage may likely be, or within the fence, I should say, may likely be curtilage as well. And then a big factor is the uses to which the area is put. And specifically, do normal domestic activities occur there? In other words, do you do the same things in your curtilage that you do inside your home or the area claimed to be curtilage? So do you sleep there? Do you eat there? Do you watch TV there? Do you read there? And if normal domestic activities occur, like cooking and reading and sleeping and watching TV and whatnot, if all those same normal domestic activities happen there, that's more likely to be curtilage. And also, what's your expectation of privacy? What steps have you taken to shield the area from observation by passersby? That's a quote out of one of the cases. So you look at all those factors, and people say, okay, Guy, in my home, what area is curtilage? And I've always said, for 20 plus years, looking at this issue as I've been teaching my class, I have no damn idea. Because we don't have a single self-defense case. And even after the tax case that Robert referenced when he called, that won't help on this in necessarily a self-defense scenario, but we're likely to get a definition of curtilage coming out of the Indiana Supreme Court. And at least, hey, if it applies to a tax case, it may apply to a self-defense case too. But what the hell is curtilage? Well, the reason it's relevant to this tax case, and you hear a lot about property taxes here on WIBC. It's not really so much part of my agenda, but a lot of other of the hosts and shows talk about it. There's a cap as to how much property tax can be levied against you, and it's based on 1% based on your homestead and your curtilage. And it's 2% for your other property. And there's a case that went up to the Indiana Supreme Court, and in fact, it was just argued within the last week or so, where the issue was, that does that 1% beyond your actual house, your homestead, what other property does curtilage refer to? So the Indiana Supreme Court may actually come out and give us a definition of curtilage. Now, will subsequent cases say, well, your curtilage for purposes of your taxes isn't necessarily your curtilage for purposes of self-defense? I don't know. I could see a potential outcome like that. But, hey, it's going to be better guidance than it is now. And as I always say in my course, I said it today, even though I referenced this tax case, I said, listen, if I'm not actually in the four walls of my home, and I feel the need to defend myself, defend my family, I'm not going to rely on curtilage. I'm not going to say, well, I'm on the back deck of my house while I'm grilling or barbecuing or smoking ribs. So since I'm on the deck, I must be in my curtilage. Well, my backyard is just open. I don't have a fence, a security fence, a privacy fence, nothing. It just opens into the neighborhood behind me. Do I have an expectation of privacy there? Not really. Am I going to say, well, someone just walked up the steps to the deck of my house, and so I shot him because it's my curtilage? No, I would never do that. I would think it was odd. Somebody's walking up onto the deck that I don't know, and without them being invited, I would be prepared to defend myself, but I wouldn't shoot him because he's violating my curtilage. It's just too amorphous. It's unknown. But the reason Robert asked a very smart question is, will this tax case give us additional guidance as to how broadly we can define the Castle Doctrine that includes your dwelling and your curtilage, as well as occupied motor vehicle? Yeah, potentially. And I think that'll be really interesting to see how it comes down and see how well it does or doesn't apply to a potential self-defense scenario. I mean, if it's curtilage for tax purposes, why isn't it curtilage for self-defense purposes is a very legitimate question. And I'll tell you what, I've blown way past the bottom of the hour. We'll come back for a couple of bit shorter segments and get right back to the phone lines. We still have callers on hold, so please be patient. We'll get to you as soon as we can. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
It's hot out there.
The weather's hot.
It's really hot.
But the headlines, they're even hotter.
Massive precision strikes. This was about being clandestine. End the nuclear capability of Iran.
The news of the day is heating up.
Things have gotten super hot out there.
Iran is run by homicidal maniac crazy people.
Stay cool.
Angry at the basketball gods.
Stay informed.
This isn't the way that it was supposed to go down.
Stay with 93 WIBC.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 40-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term life insurance may only cost you about $100 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-239-1749. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance to buy $1 million of affordable term life for you. All you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-239-1749. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-239-1749. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. For affordable term life insurance, call 800-239-1749. 800-239-1749.
Lanny went to college and racked up huge debt.
A little bit over $100,000.
For a degree he couldn't use? Now what?
I had a friend that went to My Computer Career.
They even helped him get hired immediately after graduation.
One of the things I love about IT is that you can work from anywhere you want.
You could become an IT pro in just months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI with zero experience at mycomputercareer.edu. My Computer Career, an elite CompTIA certification partner.
It worked for me, and I know it can work for you.
This is one student's experience. Individual results vary.
Renewing your driver's license online or heading to the BMV? Indiana Donor Network and Donate Life Indiana remind you to be prepared to answer this important question.
Would you like to sign up to be an organ donor?
When you say yes to organ donation, your license could make you a lifesaver. Just one organ and tissue donor can save 8 lives and heal countless more. Your yes at the BMV is a possible life-saving gift. Say yes to organ donation.
Fox News
News, I'm Jack Callahan. Search and rescue teams continue to look for more than 170 people still missing after the flash flooding swept through central Texas last week. Now, more rough weather is expected.
Night and day, crews are working. They're hiking through riverbanks, cutting away at piles of dense debris with cadaver dogs, and dive teams continue to search the water as they monitor rain in the forecast once again.
It's Katie Byrne at Fox Weather in Kerrville, Texas. A new report exposes critical security lapses in the attempted assassination of Donald Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania 1 year ago.
This is coming out from a Senate report now saying that the Secret Service not only made big mistakes that day, but according to a report that just came out from Senator Chuck Grassley, he says that the Secret Service knew there was a threat to President Trump's life for 10 days and didn't take action or share that information.
Fox's Alexis McAdams. America is listening to Fox News.
Premier Deck Coating, the ultimate deck protection. Who are they? Well, they're a sister company of Rhino Shield, and Premier Deck Coating is the product you need if you're tired of applying the same old stain and paint every couple of years to your deck. It's Terry, Stacy, and David and I have a deck that's probably 25 years old. The countless hours and the money that we spend on maintaining that deck never ends. And then we heard about Premier Deck Coating. Family owned, based right here in Indy, and they are going to completely transform our deck with their special formulated product, which repels moisture, scratch resistant in virtually any color that we want, and backed by a 10-year guarantee. No more spending time staining or painting every year. Premier Deck Coating will keep our deck looking great for years to come. Premier Deck Coating can also do fences and pergolas too. For a free quote, call 317-696-4071 or visit premierdeckcoating.com.
Guys, Hammer and Nigel here. Don't live with tiredness and low energy. Get your life back with testosterone therapy at Low T Center. Take the test, get fast results, and start TRT with Indianapolis's leading experts in men's health.
Now it's easier than ever with the new Synergen X Health app, an innovation in healthcare technology you won't find anywhere else. Download right now or book an appointment while the test is still free at fixmylowt.com. Fixmylowt.com.
Hey, this is Spencer Thompson at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus. Now through Monday, save an extra 25% off all in-stock outdoor furniture. Sleep up to 10 degrees cooler and the lowest price guaranteed on every mattress. And save up to 50% off Lazy Boy, Smith Brothers, Flex Steel, and lift chairs. Plus, we pay your sales tax and deliver it all for free. Sale ends Monday only at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus.
The show about gun rights, gun safety, and responsible gun ownership. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. Thanks as well to the folks watching and listening on YouTube. You can go there, go to YouTube, just search for 93 WIBC. The Gun Guy Show will pop right up. You can get video of the show. I'm not much to look at, but there is video there. And I think the main reason people do it is not for the video, is to participate in the chat feature. And people engage with each other. And it's tough to do too much reading on that when I'm doing live radio, but during the breaks and whatnot, I try to see what people are talking about, including questions or issues people may raise. But I'll tell you what, on that point, I actually see on the chat feature and here on the phone, Jennifer has called in. So Jennifer, welcome to the Gun Guy Show.
Hey, good evening, Guy. I enjoyed your class today. I want to say congratulations on your 10 years
of your
radio show. And I plan to take it again for reference and reiteration of those laws because, carrying is complex, and anybody who doesn't study up on it before they start carrying a firearm is a knucklehead.
Yeah, there's a lot to it, and what concerns me, Jennifer, and I talked about this a little bit at the beginning of the class, is, we have over 1 million people now that have an Indiana license to carry a handgun. And we actually lead the country in the percentage of people per capita, of adults in Indiana that have a license to carry versus the rest of the population. And now we have constitutional carry as well. And that's awesome. And I love the fact that so many people are exercising their Second Amendment rights. That's a fabulous thing. But it also raises concerns that how many people are walking around carrying guns every day that don't really understand the laws associated with when they can pull that gun out of the holster, when they can point it at someone, and God forbid when they can pull the trigger. Those are all things you need to know, as well as all the areas you can't carry a gun, how to potentially lose your gun rights by becoming a prohibited possessor. There are a lot of things there that aren't necessarily intuitive, and so that's why I teach that. But thanks for coming today, and I appreciate very much you not only coming to the class, but calling in the show as well. I'll tell you what, a short segment, but I went so long on the last one. Let's go ahead and take a break. Tony has called in, so we'll go right back to the phone lines here when we come back. Right now, we're taking a break. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
It's another week of this.
There's a very good chance that we'll have a settlement.
And another day for this.
Water rose 28 foot in 45 minutes.
Plus, another possibility of this.
Monitor the weather condition, the National Weather Service.
That's why another update is just minutes away.
Start saying we're not taking this anymore.
Just another day.
Not with all this happening.
Every day.
Happening now.
93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Guy Relford for Tactical Firearms Training. Thanks to Jennifer for calling in, saying she enjoyed the class. If you're interested in taking that, the next one is Saturday, October 18th. I'm likely to schedule one back in Indy Arms in September before the Avon class. But right now we've got one on the website for Saturday, October 18th. Again, this is 5 hours of the most important legal information you need as an Indiana gun owner. You can check that out online at tactical-firearms.com. It's just $50 for an individual, $95 for couples. By the way, a couple can be your significant other. It could be your son or daughter who you'd like to educate in the gun laws. It could be your shooting buddy. We don't check your relationship. Couples are any two people that want to come together, and you're welcome to come on out and join us. 9 a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. at Parabellum Firearms and Indoor Range located in Avon. We'd love to see you there. Register right online at tactical-firearms.com. Just click on upcoming courses at tactical-firearms.com.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone.
Done.
By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
It's the first day of the first grade, and she found a new best friend. It's a laid-back Sunday afternoon you wish would never end. The homemade taste of Bluebell and good friends gathered round. The good old days are being made right now.
You'll be one smart cookie when you try Bluebell Cookie Cake Ice Cream. A sweet cream ice cream loaded with chocolate chip cookie cake pieces and swirls of chocolate and vanilla icing. This cookie cake ice cream really takes the cake.
The good old days are being made right now. The good old days are being made right now.
Look for Bluebell Ice Cream at Walmart Supercenters and Walmart Neighborhood Markets.
Why'd I go to the doctor? One day at the firehouse, I was so lightheaded I could barely stand. Even my crew noticed. Getting checked out was the right call. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit NoTimeToWait.com, sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
David was in big trouble with the IRS.
At first, I didn't owe that much, but after this year, it was out of control.
Then David called Get a Tax Lawyer.
Right away, they were like, oh yeah, looks like you're qualified to save.
Get a Tax Lawyer went to work.
Should have called way sooner.
Get a Tax Lawyer has helped thousands like David fight the IRS and get a fresh start.
Call 800-745-3070. That's 800-745-3070.
Quality Supply and Tool, your premier supplier of construction equipment, tools, and supplies, is hiring CDL drivers. Call Brian Myers at 317-690-2016.
If you can plan barbecues and weddings, you can plan to protect yourself from a natural disaster. Sign up for local alerts, prepare an emergency kit, and make a family communications plan. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Find the path to recovery that works for you. Learn more at cdc.gov/stopoverdose.
Tired of digging through noise to find real news? Go straight to WIBC.com. Local stories, statewide impact, national headlines, info that matters. When news breaks, WIBC.com is already on it. Stay on the know while you're on the go. Your rights, your responsibilities, your guns. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. And thanks so much to our callers. We've had great calls tonight. I want to continue to take calls throughout the show, as we have for these many 10 years since we started the show, which I always enjoy. So give us a call, 317-239-9393. Let's go back to the phone lines. And as I mentioned, Tony has called in. Tony, welcome to the Gun Guy Show.
Hey, Guy. I appreciate you taking my call. I'm calling. Buzz kind of beat me to it. But as far as the NFA items, like for a suppressor, you'll still have to do just some clarification. You'll still have to do the paperwork and wait the period of time for them to do it, but there won't be any taxes on it now, right?
Yeah, for suppressors, short-barreled rifles, short-barreled shotguns, and AOWs, which is any other weapon, which is kind of a broad category of concealable firearms. You're exactly right, Tony. And I've seen this reported incorrectly or discussed incorrectly out on social media, where people are saying, hey, the whole process in terms of doing the paperwork is going away. And you can just go in and buy a suppressor or a short-barreled rifle, shotgun, etc., like any other firearm. I say, yeah, other firearms. Suppressors are clearly not firearms, except under the definition of firearm under federal law. Federal law says a firearm is a weapon designed to expel a projectile by means of an explosion. That's virtually identical to the Indiana law. But then it says, or the frame or receiver of any such weapon, or a suppressor. It actually says silencer or firearm muffler, which was terminology from back in 1934. And so a suppressor is a firearm under federal law. But to your point, Tony, a lot of people believe incorrectly that you can go in and just buy a suppressor or buy a short-barreled rifle or shotgun and avoid the NFA paperwork. And that's not true at all. You still have to, to transfer an NFA item as a Form 4 and say you're buying a suppressor. You go to the gun store. The gun store will have the Form 4. A lot of them are doing it electronically now, which is the only way to do it. Trust me. They have their electronic Form 4, and they will start the process by filling out their part of the Form 4. That's an application to transfer and register an NFA firearm. And they fill out their part as a transferor with their federal firearms license, etc. And then they give it over to you. You fill out your part as the transferee. You still have to submit fingerprints, which now you can do electronically. And by the way, if you want to get fingerprinted electronically, and now this is awesome, I now have just an electronic file that sits on my computer of my prints that I got at a company called printscan.com. And a lot of them are located like in UPS stores or whatnot. I went to one that was up sort of in the Fishers/Westfield area and got an electronic file with my fingerprints. Then I got an electronic passport photo. Again, there's just another file I keep on my computer. Now, I've submitted that same fingerprints and the same photo for probably 4 or 5 different NFA applications since I got those. So you don't have to keep going and getting fingerprinted every time you send them in. You can submit it electronically. But that gets submitted, and then that all goes through a separate background check that ATF does. And then eventually today they send you your approved Form 4 to transfer with a tax stamp on it that says you also have paid your $200. All that will also be true after January 1st, except you don't pay the $200. I doubt you'll get a tax stamp because the stamp just indicates you paid the tax. But all the other paperwork still holds true. We'll talk a little bit more about that later in the show. Right now, we're approaching the top of the hour. Thanks to our callers. We're taking a break. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Farnsworth Metal Recycling, a familiar face in Indy.
Farnsworth Metal Recycling will pay you cash for your scrap metal. Ray's Demolition and Farnsworth Metal Recycling may seem familiar to you, and that's because they are. They're trusted local family-owned businesses going back 3 generations in Indy with their familiar orange logo and a name you know. But you may not know they'll pay you cash for your scrap metal. Cash is king. Your scrap aluminum, steel, copper, and brass will get you cash from Farnsworth Metal Recycling. Just drop it off or schedule a pickup, and you'll put cash in your pocket. Ray's Demolition and Farnsworth Metal Recycling. Local names you can trust with 2 locations.
Farnsworth Metal Recycling, a familiar face in Indy.
Get cash for your scrap. Get started at farnsworthmetals.com.
Comcast Business helps turn today's small businesses into engines of modern business. It's how restaurants become reliably up and running neighborhood favorites. How retailers become seamlessly restocking, cyber-securing, must-visit shops. And how healthcare offices become the data managing caregivers that we all depend on. With reliable connectivity, enhanced cybersecurity, advanced fiber solutions, and Wi-Fi backup, Comcast Business is powering the engine of modern business. Powering possibilities.
Now through July 21st, new customers can get started with 300 megabit internet and Security Edge for $69 a month for 24 months with a 2-year agreement. Plus, find out how to get a $500 prepaid card for your business. Call and switch to Comcast Business today. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and automatic payments with bank account. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra.
Road trip! This summer at Tire Discounters, your tires are your passport to savings, because you're driving to Paris,
Texas,
then it's off to Rome,
Georgia,
and you'll be kissing the Blarney Stone in Dublin,
Ohio.
Right now, save up to $434 when you buy 4 tires, and that includes a free alignment and oil change. Stop at Tire Discounters before you see the world.
Why'd I go to the doctor? One day at the firehouse, I was so lightheaded I could barely stand. Even my crew noticed. Getting checked out was the right call. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit NoTimeToWait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Broadcasting from the Technology Recycler Studios, this is Indy's Mobile News, 93 WIBC. WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. The news starts now.
Central Texas, I'm Jack Callahan, Fox News. For the more than 170 people still missing in the flash flooding that swept through the area last week. Now there's the threat of more thunderstorms. Fox Weather's Katie Burns reports from Kerrville, Texas.
Night and day, crews are working. They're hiking through riverbanks, cutting away at piles of dense debris with cadaver dogs, and dive teams continue to search the water as they monitor rain in the forecast once again. Parts of the hill country are in a level 2 out of 4 flash flood threat tonight, as forecasters say it really would only take one thunderstorm to cause flooding in a region that's already so saturated. We spoke with search crews who say any incoming rain would be a setback. And we're learning more about the victims who have been found. A procession for 12-year-old Shiloh Wilson, a young rodeo competitor, just passed us as he makes his way home to the Houston area. His family says he will be buried there with his parents as they were in an RV park nearby that got swept away by this catastrophic flooding.
At least 120 people have died from the flooding. These latest storms also forecast to bring hail and damaging wind. Generous Fox viewers and listeners have helped to raise $5 million to aid Central Texas communities. A judge has ordered the Trump administration to halt indiscriminate immigration stops and arrests in California.
That judge ordering the Trump administration to cease immigration stops and arrests in 7 California counties, including Los Angeles, after immigration advocacy groups filed a lawsuit saying President Trump's administration systematically targeted, quote, brown-skinned people. The judge's order temporarily blocks arrest without, quote, reasonable suspicion that the person is in the country illegally, saying officers were unconstitutionally relying on improper factors like race, accent, and line of work. She also agreed detainees were denied adequate access to lawyers.
Fox's Chanley Painter. America's listening to Fox News.
Stay on top of the latest forecast with America's Weather Team in the palm of your hands.
Here's the latest from America's Weather Center.
It's Fox weather updates throughout your busy day, every day.
That heat's going to be out there for one more day.
Temperatures being 30 degrees above average.
Put the power of over 100 meteorologists and the worldwide resources of Fox in your hands with the Fox Weather Podcast. Precise, personal, powerful. Subscribe and listen now at foxnewspodcasts.com. Connect to Fox News Audio on the Fox News app. Listen to hear your favorite hosts like Brian Kilmeade, Jimmy Fallon, and Guy Benson standing up for what's right, live and via podcast. Just click listen, then swipe right and hear the latest news updates on your time. And scroll down to hear the latest podcasts from Fox News. And it's even easier to listen in the car with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Get programming alerts and notifications. Fox News Audio is on the Fox News app. The voices America trusts. Download it now.
A group of lawmakers toured the new
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
More violence to start the weekend. I'm Jarrett Lewis. Here's what's trending this hour. IMPD says 2 people were taken to an Indianapolis hospital with gunshot wounds. One of them did not survive. Officers say they found 2 people to be shot early Saturday morning in the city's northwest side just before 4 a.m. No other details about the shooting have been released at this time. A young girl losing her life Friday afternoon on the north side of Indianapolis. She was rushed to a hospital after she had been shot. IMPD officer Tommy Thompson says it appears the girl picked up one of the unsecured guns inside the home.
This is extremely tragic. There's a family, regardless of what happened, that is going to be grieving. A young child's life will never come to fruition.
He says the family has been cooperating with police, but the cops seized all of the guns that were inside the home. Police say a 21-year-old man drowned after being electrocuted at Marina Shores in Portage, Indiana. According to investigators, Gabriel Gonzalez had entered the water to retrieve an object and encountered an electrical field. His brother attempted to rescue him but was also shocked. Gabriel later pronounced dead at a hospital on Wednesday. And it's certainly been a hot and sometimes windy summer this year.
This year's been active. It's been last month has been noticeably a lot quieter since we had, I think it was May 18th, we had some tornadoes across the southern part of the state through Greene County and over towards Brown County. But this year, it's been very active.
Alex McGinnis with the National Weather Service in Indianapolis. After reaching 90 on Saturday with some severe weather in some spots in the state, Sunday temperatures are expected to be in the mid to upper 80s. I'm Jarrett Lewis on the level, on the go, and at WIBC.com.
After those drenching showers Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening should be mostly dry with a low temperature around 71 degrees. Winds out of the west-southwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Sunday will be cloudy with a few chances for some scattered showers. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Jordan Arsutis for 93 WIBC.
Everybody knows Hubler's got the best warranty around. 10 years, 200,000 miles. But did you know? Now you can get that same limited powertrain warranty on new Toyotas. Introducing the all-new Hubler Toyota. Get grand opening savings all month long. And right now, lease a new 2025 RAV4, just $349 per month. Or a new Tacoma, $299 per month. Plus, choose from Camrys, Corollas, Highlanders, Tundras, and more.
Hubler's got you covered.
At the all-new Hubler Toyota on US 31 South in Indianapolis. Visit HublerToyota.com. Grand opening savings and the best warranty around. 10 years, 200,000 miles.
Cover me!
Select models, approved credit, plus tax tag title license 199 dealer doc. RAV4 model 4432, Tacoma model 7540, 36 months, $29.99 due, 0 security, 10,000 annual miles, 15 cents per mile thereafter. Expires 7/31.
The Attorney General's Office, reuniting Hoosiers with over $1 million in unclaimed property every week. Visit IndianaUnclaimed.gov or text Hammer and Nigel to 46220 today.
No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. Learn more at helpnokidhungry.org.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is the Second Amendment, and this is the Gun Guy.
Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, bang, bang.
With Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back for hour number 2 of the Gun Guy Show here on 93 WIBC. As I mentioned, we're always glad you're with us. Thanks so much for listening to the Gun Guy Show and allowing us to now go into perhaps our second decade here on the air. I don't know. I'm getting kind of old. Don't make any promises. One of my favorite depositions I've ever taken. I was taking a deposition long ago in a personal injury case. I was taking a deposition of a gentleman, and he was a plaintiff and was suing my client. I was defending my client. So this guy he's the opposing party, but he was an elderly guy. I mean, mid to late 70s, if I recall. But just a good farm-raised Hoosier, and I liked him immediately, even though he's the adverse party. But at one point, I was asking him about sources of income. And I won't bore you with the details about why that was relevant, but I asked him, about lost income because of an injury he'd had. And I asked him if he had alternative sources of income. He goes, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, do you have any investments like stocks or bonds? At one point I said, or things like certificate of deposit. And he goes, I'm sorry, I don't even know what you're talking about. What's a certificate of deposit? I said, well, you buy the certificate for a bit of money. Let's say you buy a $5,000 certificate, and it's got a certain term on it. Say it's a 5-year or a 10-year certificate, and you're guaranteed a rate of return to where at the end of that period, you get more than what you paid for it. So it's an investment that yields a return. And he looks at me and he goes, 5 years, 10 years. Son, I'm 78 years old. I don't even buy green bananas. I lost it. I thought it was the best answer I'd ever heard in my life. I don't even buy green bananas. I still do buy green bananas. I'm not quite that old. I'm getting up there. So I don't know if I should be talking about another 10 years on the radio, but hey, you never know. And enjoy doing it. And I'm honored to have this little bit of airtime here on Saturdays. As I mentioned, we continue to have the phone lines open. Let's go right back to the phone lines. Anthony's called in. Anthony, welcome to the Gun Guy Show.
Yeah, good afternoon, Guy.
And to you.
Thank you for 10 years. A couple observations and then a question. One, your show with folks like Jim Lucas and the Indiana General Assembly have been synergistic, and really appreciate that. Let me get to the question because I don't think we've got a whole lot of time. There was a case up in Michigan just recently having to do with a detached garage, and a guy found 7 thugs breaking into his garage, and he confronted them. Ended up one of them got killed. Now there's a whole bunch of consternation about whether or not he should be charged with murder. So there's the question has to do with detached versus attached garages. What's considered curtilage, especially if that attached garage opens directly into the house?
Yeah.
And there's a whole lot of issues there in terms of what are you allowed to, what's part of your castle and what's not. So anyway,
it's a great question.
The last observation is we're going to have to wait and see whether or not a $0 tax is still a tax. That's going to be the big question having to do with the tax bill. Anyway, so let's answer the question.
Yep. No, I appreciate you, Anthony. And I appreciate your interaction on social media as well. The question about the attached garage, we're right back to the curtilage discussion that I was talking about in the first hour. And perhaps we'll get some clarification from the Indiana Supreme Court in the context of this property tax bill. But listen, in terms of what's within your castle doctrine, which means that you can use deadly force merely to prevent or terminate an unlawful entry or attack on your dwelling, the difference between the castle doctrine and the self-defense law that applies to you everywhere else other than your home or your curtilage or your occupied motor vehicle, the difference is that you don't have to fear getting hurt. You don't have to justify it by saying I was preventing serious bodily injury to me or another person. That's the standard most commonly used and relied upon outside your home. In your home, somebody's breaking into my home or my occupied motor vehicle. I don't have to say he had a weapon. I don't have to say he was bigger than me, stronger than me. I don't have to fear injury. I can merely use force. I can use deadly force to prevent or terminate that unlawful entry. And that's what makes it the Castle Doctrine. You can simply defend your home with deadly force. There's a corollary rule in the self-defense statute, and I talked about it in the course today. You can never use deadly force. You can use reasonable force, but you can never use deadly force merely to protect your property. I'm not talking about your home. I'm talking about your personal property, your car, your wallet, your jewelry, the stuff in your garage. You can't use deadly force merely to protect your personal property. All right? So if somebody's breaking in your garage, attached or unattached, and you shoot them as one means of using deadly force, merely because they're breaking into your garage, as opposed to breaking into your home, do you have an argument that you were defending the curtilage of your home that negates the argument that, no, you were just worried about them getting into your garage, particularly your detached garage, to steal the stuff that's in your garage? Because while you can defend your home and your dwelling that includes your curtilage, you cannot kill someone. You cannot use deadly force, which includes shooting them, shooting at them, or even pointing a gun at them under rulings from the Indiana Court of Appeals, to just protect your property. Protect your home, not your personal property like your car or your lawn equipment or your other tools. Or in my case, a beautiful, well-preserved 1998 Harley-Davidson motorcycle that I love a lot. And I protect it dearly. I've taken great care of it over the 27 years I've owned it. Do I want somebody stealing my Harley? No. Do I want someone stealing my car? No. Can I shoot them simply because they're breaking into my garage? Without a better definition of curtilage, I cannot tell you the answer to that is yes. Do you have a better argument if it's an attached garage versus unattached? Absolutely. Much better. Particularly, as Anthony mentioned, if the garage then opens directly into your home. But let's say you've got a deadbolted door between your garage and your home. Does that mean breaking into your garage is the same as breaking into your home? Because that's what curtilage is intended to include. Those areas where you have an expectation of privacy, where normal domestic activities occur. You know what? How am I certain that a garage is going to be included? I don't typically eat in the garage. I don't sleep in the garage. I don't watch TV in the garage. I know people that do. Nigel, on Hammer and Nigel, he talks about his awesome garage all the time. He's basically made his garage into a man cave. It's like a gathering place for his neighbors. They go out there and they watch sports on TV, and there's a beer fridge, and they hang out. Well, that's where normal domestic activities occur. My garage is just a garage. I've got a motorcycle lift, and I've got a stereo that I turn on when I'm working on a car or a motorcycle, which is not to imply that I'm mechanical in any way, shape, or form, by the way. I suck at working on motorcycles or cars. I still try to do it. I'm just really bad at it. But do I have an expectation of privacy? Do normal domestic activities occur in my garage? I can't tell you with certainty that a court would hold that you can shoot someone simply, I say shoot someone, it's use deadly force in whatever form that deadly force may take, just for breaking into your garage. If it's an attached garage, much better argument. But your detached garage, not so sure. Again, we'll see whether the Supreme Court case gives us more clarification on that. But it's a fabulous question, and one I talked about in my gun law class today, and I would love to have more clarity. But to me, if I'm not within the four walls of my home, and I include my garage, or I should say I exclude my garage from this definition, If I'm not within the walls of my home, I'm not relying on castle doctrine, which means I can't use deadly force merely to prevent someone from breaking in or to get them out once they've broken in. I can use reasonable force, but not deadly force. Someone breaks in my actual home, within the four walls of my home, yeah, okay, now they're getting shot. Outside my home, that doesn't mean I can never use deadly force. That's not my point. The point is I have to rely on a separate legal standard, which is I'm preventing serious bodily injury to me or a third person, or I'm preventing the commission of a forcible felony. And that is against me or a third person. If I'm in my garage working and a guy breaks in and he's got a knife in his hand or he's got a crowbar in his hand, he's got a tire iron in his hand and threatens me with it, am I shooting him? Yes, but not because he broke into my garage and I'm protecting the property in my garage. I'm shooting him because I fear serious bodily injury, and I choose not to get hit in the head with a crowbar or a tire iron or get stabbed with a knife. So I'm not talking about castle doctrine anymore. I'm not defending my home or my curtilage. I'm defending myself from serious bodily injury. If my wife's in the garage, she's out vacuuming her car, and a guy comes into the garage intending to do her harm, will I shoot him? Yes. Not because I'm defending my curtilage, because I'm preventing my wife from suffering serious bodily injury. So you see the difference. But the garage question is a great one, Anthony, and I'm glad you raised it. Unfortunately, I don't have a definitive answer for you because of how unsettled this issue of curtilage is in Indiana. That's just a fact that I think we need to acknowledge and work around in terms of not relying on castle doctrine when you're not within the actual walls of your home. I've got a little past the quarter hour. It's time to take a break. Great calls so far this show. Let's keep it going. Give us a call. Join the discussion. 317-239-9393. 317-239-9393. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Kendall and Casey.
Look at how he just broke it further than it was already broken. Why would you think he's going to fix anything?
You have the chance.
You know who you need to listen to? Us. We're the ones who are right. We're the ones who will tell you how it is. We're the ones who always stand up and own it. You need to listen to us. Stop listening to these politicians. They are to blame.
Kendall and Casey. Weekdays 9 till noon on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Guy Relford for the law offices of Guy Relford. You know, one thing we do that we really enjoy doing is we do restorations of rights. If you've lost your rights to an old felony conviction or some other manner that you've lost your rights, we love to work on restorations. For a lot of convictions where you've lost your Second Amendment rights, your rights can be restored if you meet the requirements for an expungement or a separate restoration. There's now a federal restoration process that's just been resurrected by the U.S. Department of Justice, just available within the last couple of months. And we're doing those now for people as well. We're excited to do that. If you're curious whether that might apply to you or a loved one, family member, friend, or otherwise, give us a call. Join us, either give us a call at the office or contact us through the website, I should say, at relfordlaw.com. Just go to relfordlaw.com. You can send us an email right through the website, and we'll be glad to discuss whether we can potentially restore rights for you as well. That's relfordlaw.com.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-239-1749. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-239-1749. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-239-1749. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-239-1749, 800-239-1749, or biglou.com.
Lanny went to college and racked up huge debt.
A little bit over $100,000.
For a degree he couldn't use? Now what?
I had a friend that went to My Computer Career.
They even helped him get hired immediately after graduation.
One of the things I love about IT is that you can work from anywhere you want.
You could become an IT pro in just months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI with zero experience at mycomputercareer.edu. My Computer Career, an elite CompTIA certification partner.
It worked for me, and I know it can work for you.
This is one student's experience. Individual results vary.
You've spent a lifetime passing down traditions. Dinners with the family, father and son fishing trips, that secret family recipe that has been passed down for generations. Now there's one more thing you can pass on. Hope. Hope for someone waiting for a life-saving organ transplant. Because one organ donor can save up to 8 lives. Make your legacy one of hope. Say yes to organ donation. Visit DonateLifeIndiana.org to learn more.
Stay on your home court with Franciscan Health's top-rated cardiac heart care. No traveling, no waiting. Just award-winning heart care right where you live. Rated #1 in Indiana 2 years in a row for cardiology and cardiac care by Healthgrades, Franciscan Health offers first-in-the-world treatments, cutting-edge technology, and unmatched compassion. Because we believe every heartbeat is extraordinary. Don't sit on the sidelines with heart trouble. Schedule a same-day cardiology appointment today at 317-893-1900.
Join Mark Patrick Seminars and lose the weight guaranteed. Early bird special only $49.99. Hypnosis to destroy unwanted cravings. Also, stop smoking with Mark Patrick. Destroy your desire to smoke without cravings, irritability, weight gain, or your money back. Seminars July 31st at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites in Noblesville. Weight loss seminar 5:30 p.m. Stop smoking seminar 8 p.m. And Saturday, August 2nd at the Holiday Inn Indianapolis Airport. Weight loss seminar 11 a.m. Stop smoking seminar 2 p.m. Register at markpatrickseminars.com.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, starting at just $98 a pair.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aid.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
We're all different. 1 in 5 of us live with a mental illness. Don't filter who you are. Talk to someone you trust. Learn more at bringchangetimind.org.
The Indianapolis Public Library. More than just books. Visit your local branch today.
Now you got a gun guy. Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. And now we've got Mark who's called in. Mark, welcome to the Gun Guy Show.
Yes, Guy. How you doing this afternoon?
Good, sir. Hope you're doing all right.
I'm doing fantastic. I appreciate your show. And I've got a pretty intriguing question for you. I've been teaching martial arts for 40 years.
Uh-huh.
You're talking about reasonable force defense. People, you know, what is the definition of that? I mean, obviously, deadly force, we know what that's all about. But what about reasonable force? How far can we go in far as training people and how much damage they can do to somebody to where they're going to be in the same scenario of possibly a lethal attack, you know, whatever. What's your thoughts?
Well, let's assume that you're not justified in using deadly force and only justified in using reasonable force. So, for instance, the 4 times I can use deadly force, the 4 circumstances in Indiana are to prevent serious bodily injury to me or a third person, to prevent the commission of a forcible felony, that's a felony committed through the use or threat of force, or in which there's a substantial likelihood of injury to a human being. The Castle Doctrine, which is to prevent an unlawful entry into or attack, that is to prevent or terminate an unlawful entry into or attack on my dwelling, curtilage, or occupied motor vehicle, or to prevent the hijacking of an airplane. So those are the 4 times I'm justified using deadly force. There are other circumstances, like to prevent the unlawful use of force against me or another person. I can use reasonable force. I can also use reasonable force to protect my property. So the first definition of reasonable force is it doesn't reach the level of deadly force, because that's what's not justified. Deadly force is force that creates a substantial risk of death or that causes a number of things, protracted loss or use of a bodily member or organ, extreme pain is part of serious bodily injury. Unconsciousness is serious bodily injury. And loss or protracted use of a bodily member or organ, if I didn't mention that, a loss of a fetus. So those are all serious bodily injury. If I use force that creates either a substantial risk of death or any of those things, that's serious bodily injury, which I cannot use if I'm only justified in using reasonable force and not deadly force. And I had a slide on this today and talked about that exactly. So what does that mean? Let's say someone is trying to punch me in the face, or someone is trying to steal my motorcycle out of my garage. If in those circumstances, I'm either just protecting my personal property, like my motorcycle, or I'm just defending against unlawful use of force that doesn't rise to the level of preventing serious bodily injury, I can use reasonable force. What does that mean? It means the force necessary to address the threat without reaching deadly force. So if somebody's stealing my motorcycle, does that mean I can go out and tackle them? Yeah, probably. Can I go out and use pepper spray on them? Yeah, probably. Can I go out, tackle them, and hold them for police? Yes, actually, that's part of a citizen's arrest that I can do if someone's committing a felony in my presence. And can I hit them in the head with a baseball bat? No, because that creates a substantial risk of serious bodily injury. That's deadly force. So and I've never in depth, Mark, studied martial arts. I've taken a little bit of hand-to-hand here and there just as part of firearms training, where we go from firearms to empty hand defense. I've taken some edged weapon defense, which would all be considered deadly force. So I don't have anywhere close to your background in martial arts, but I don't know how well what I just went through translates, because essentially you want to terminate the threat, whatever the threat is against you, without having the force you use rise to the level of deadly force, which includes force that creates either a substantial risk of death or that causes a likelihood of serious bodily injury. So I don't know if I just confused the issue more than where we already were, or whether that helps you at all in the context you're asking me about.
Well, I appreciate you really going through the depths of that. And did you confuse things? You really did, but that's your job. Because it's so complex, and there is a muscle memory thing. It says you don't know what you're going to do in the heat of battle.
Yeah.
And how do you control yourself? Empty hand. I mean, that's what martial arts is basically empty hand. So you try to defend yourself without a weapon. How far do you go? And are you going to be the policeman in the street that's going to go ahead and wrap this guy up and hold him down, until police get there? Absolutely, if you have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
But if all of a sudden somebody comes on your property and not knowing if they're on any kind of influence of drugs, because we all know there's a lot of people out there on that.
You bet.
And they don't know what they're doing. They have no reasoning capabilities. You can't talk them out of anything. So, it's a tough scenario. Like, I train people. It's like, how far do you go? Are your hands registered, as a black belt? It's like, no, they're not. But we do walk to a different tune as far as making sure that we're all about defense. We're not about offense. We're not about attacking people. We're not about hurting people. In fact, we're exactly the opposite. But how far do you go? How do you teach your students to a point where they don't take the law in their own hands and they don't maliciously hurt people just because they have the talents to do it?
Well, it's a great point. It's a fabulous point, Mark. But let me tell you, your focus on defense is so important. But get this. If you are seriously trained in martial arts, which obviously you are, and you have the ability to prevent yourself or someone else from getting hurt strictly by using defensive techniques without offensive, and you have the ability to do that, then the law is probably going to impose upon you an obligation to do that, because the only time you can use force in self-defense is you're preventing unlawful harm against you. And again, I'm not about the castle doctrine, somebody breaking your home, that's different. Outside your home, I'm preventing unlawful harm. I'm preventing serious bodily injury. I'm preventing the commission of a forcible felony, although that actually allows the use of deadly force. My point is, if you have the ability to only use defensive techniques without offensive, and you have the capacity to do that, I think a lot of prosecutors, a lot of juries would impose upon you the obligation to be defensive only. Now, if somebody's coming at me in a way that makes me feel I'm absolutely required to use offensive techniques to keep them from hurting me, then I can absolutely do that. But I'm also not trained the same way you are in the use of defensive techniques. And that's a discussion we could take the whole rest of the show to go through. It gets confusing and fascinating all at the same time. But that's why when I teach this class, and there's a lot of discussion, just like we're having here, it takes 5 hours to teach that class because of these kinds of discussions. But thanks so much to Mark for calling. It's a fascinating discussion. Come back. We're going to shift gears a little bit for the rest of the Gun Guy Show. We'll continue to take your calls. Give us a call. We've had fabulous callers so far in the show. 317-239-9393. Give us a call. We're taking a break. This is Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Hammer and Nigel.
Weatherman upset that Trump cutting some funding to the National Weather Service.
The war on science.
Yeah, tell me more about that science that told me I had to wear a mask made in China that didn't protect me from anything. Tell me about the science of 6 feet apart. Tell me about the science of being in a restaurant. You can sit down and eat with no mask, but you got to stand up and wear a mask. But if you go to can, you got to stand back up and put it on again.
Hammer and Nigel, weekdays 3 till 7 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
You know exactly why you need to remodel that kitchen of yours. The space, it's outdated. You can't move around like you used to. It doesn't work like it needs to. You want to entertain and you want to improve your quality of life. This can happen, just not with the kitchen you have. You need to call Booher Remodeling, BOOHER, BooherRemodeling.com. They can take that old kitchen that's deteriorating and broken down and turn it into something that works for you and your family. Their 5-step design process from start to finish, the consultation, the preliminary design, the design development, getting all the documents together, and then getting it done. The best materials, the most skilled craftsmen in Central Indiana. Booher Remodeling will guide you through the entire process, starting with the free initial consultation, and they stand behind their work with a 2-year workmanship guarantee. Create that new kitchen. Design experts can use an existing layout or begin completely from scratch. Talk to Booher Remodeling today. BOOHER, BooherRemodeling.com. That's BooherRemodeling.com.
Looking for a cozy spot to relax, work, or grab your coffee to go? LC Coffee House in Noblesville, Indiana has you covered. Try our indulgent affogato, a sweet blend of espresso and ice cream. Or sample our coffee flights to discover your perfect brew. In a rush, our drive-thru is ready to serve you fast and fresh. Need a space to collaborate? We offer meeting rooms perfect for co-working. Whether you're grabbing a quick drink or spending the day with us, LC Coffee House is the place to be.
Hey, it's Big Joe for your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer, Jim's Heating and Air Conditioning. Owner Jim Scott is based in Clinton County, but they're now serving a larger area.
Boone County and Hamilton County, there are just not enough HVAC contractors in those areas to handle the demand. So we can offer a value for them because of our 5-star rating, family-owned, quality.
On the north side, give Jim's a call at 765-601-1461. Jim's is your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Fox News, I'm Roger Stern. With more than 170 people still missing from last week's flash floods in Texas, rescue and recovery teams are now worried about the weather.
They are concerned about this incoming rain this weekend and how it could impact search efforts. And really, it would only take one thunderstorm to cause any kind of flooding here.
Fox Weather's Katie Byrne. A preliminary report today on last month's Air India crash just after takeoff, and it's disturbing. Fox's Stephanie Bennett.
It appears fuel to the plane was cut off moments before that crash. Now, the report did not say how the switches could have flipped. One of the engines was able to be restarted, but the plane could not gain power quickly enough.
The report also cites pilot confusion. More information expected soon. America is listening to Fox News.
It's the first day of the first grade, and she found a new best friend. It's a laid-back Sunday afternoon you wish would never end. The homemade taste of Bluebell and good friends gathered round.
one smart cookie when you try Bluebell Cookie Cake Ice Cream. A sweet cream ice cream loaded with chocolate chip cookie cake pieces and swirls of chocolate and vanilla icing. This cookie cake ice cream really takes the cake.
The good old days are being made right now. The good old days are being made right now.
Look for Bluebell ice cream at all Kroger and Payless supermarkets.
Hey, this is Spencer Thompson at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus. Now through Monday, save an extra 25% off all in-stock outdoor furniture. Sleep up to 10 degrees cooler and the lowest price guaranteed on every mattress. And save up to 50% off Lazy Boy, Smith Brothers, Flex Steel, and lift chairs. Plus, we pay your sales tax and deliver it all for free. Sale ends Monday only at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus.
History returns with the Brickyard 400 at the famed 2.5-mile oval, celebrating NASCAR's roots at the racing capital of the world. Brickyard Weekend starts Thursday, July 24th with the Indiana Sprint Week race, with sprint cars running on the IMS dirt track for the first time ever. Saturday, July 26th, get ready for action with the NASCAR Xfinity Series Pennzoil 250. Then Sunday, July 27th, the NASCAR Cup Series Brickyard 400, presented by PPG, returns to the oval of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Buy now and save at ims.com.
Second to none on the Second Amendment. This is the Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. To it, let's go back to the phone line. Steve is called. Steve, welcome to the Gun Guy Show.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Hey, okay now.
What you got for us?
Going, well, 2 years ago, I had a guy come in my house, threatened me and come charging at me. When he did, I just kind of bounced him off the door frame and dragged him outside so I could cool off. I went to jail for that, for battery in my own house.
Well, was the guy invited into your home?
Not by me. My daughter. I think it was one of my daughter's boyfriends.
There you go. See, and because the Castle Doctrine, Steve, applies. And I'm glad you called, because this is a clarification that people need to hear. You can prevent or terminate an unlawful entry into your home, but with reasonable force, including deadly force. You can prevent that or terminate it. When is an entry into your home not unlawful? Well, if the person's name's on the deed or the lease, if the person's been invited. So if your daughter invites someone in and they come in based on an invitation, they're no longer, or they never were, unlawfully in your home, which means Castle Doctrine doesn't apply. Now, put your hands on them or try to hurt them or commit some level of force against them, yeah, you're committing a crime because their entry into the home isn't unlawful. And that's a key distinction. That's why my very first question was, were they invited? And listen, I've never seen any legal authority, whether it's a case, it's certainly not in the statute, of how old a person needs to be to lawfully invite someone in. In other words, if your 6-year-old opens a door for strangers, and that's why I think every household, I don't care if it's a house, apartment, what form your living arrangements may take, that everybody in the house ought to understand there are very specific rules on who can open the door for strangers or open the door, period. And who is allowed, based on your own family's internal rules, is allowed to invite someone into the home. Because get this, a stranger knocks on the door and your 6-year-old answers the door. And this is all captured on a Ring doorbell. And this person says, well, hi, honey, I'm curious. Are your mom and dad home? Yes, no, whatever the answer might be. And then that person says, well, I'm bringing you this big, heavy package that I'm carrying here. Can I bring this in your house? And your little girl says, sure, and invites them into the home. Does that hold up as an invitation because it's only coming as from a 6-year-old? Now, there are capacity rules. You have to be certain You have to be a certain age to enter into a binding contract. You have to be a certain age to be legally responsible for the contracts you enter into. You have to be a certain age to buy alcohol or cigarettes or a firearm. I've never seen any law that says how old you need to be to invite someone into your home. Can your 14-year-old invite her boyfriend into the home? Yes. What if you're unhappy about it? There was a case, it wasn't in Indiana, but I read about a case where a guy came home early from work and found his underage daughter, I want to say 14, 15, having consensual sex with a much older guy, like in his late 20s or 30s. And dad shot him and killed him. And he relied on the Castle Doctrine. He said, hey, the guy was unlawfully in my home. And the daughter actually, when questioned by police, said, no, he's my boyfriend. I invited him into the home. Dad went to jail. And listen, the age of consent is an issue. Could the person have gone to jail for statutory rape? Those are all open questions, but you can't rely on the Castle Doctrine to terminate an unlawful entry into your home if the entry into your home is not unlawful. Now, you can use deadly force to prevent a forcible felony. Is consensual statutory rape a forcible felony? No, it's a crime, but it's not a crime committed through the use or threat of force because it's consensual. So as angry as any of us would be, and hey, I'm a girl dad. I have 3 granddaughters. Would I be incredibly tempted to shoot some adult who's having sex with an underage daughter or granddaughter of mine? Of course I would. But that's a separate discussion from what you can do legally. But entering into your home based on an invitation, specifically if this is your daughter's boyfriend, that takes you outside the Castle Doctrine because the entry into your home wasn't unlawful, which I think is a very important point. And I'm glad you asked the question to raise exactly that. Now, let's shift gears a little bit. And I want to give a shout out and a big vote of encouragement to Rick Snyder. Rick Snyder is the president of Fraternal Order of Police Lodge 86, which is Marion County. So he represents over 1,000. In fact, I think the number is 3,000 law enforcement officers. This is state, local, and federal police officers located here in Marion County. And he represents those officers through the Fraternal Order of Police. The letter that Rick Snyder, as president of FOP, wrote to Indiana residents, as published in the Indianapolis Business Journal, is something you really ought to read. It's published in IBJ. I took a screenshot of it, and that Rick shared with me and posted that on my social media. You can find that on my Twitter at Guy Relford. Give me a like or a follow there if you choose to. It's on my Facebook at Guy Relford. But it's something you really ought to read. But being a Second Amendment guy, a guy who fights for Second Amendment rights, and a guy who resists attempts to limit our Second Amendment rights in ways that will only impair the rights of law-abiding citizens and won't affect criminals at all, there were parts of this open letter that really I was very impressed by and very grateful for to see from not only a law enforcement officer, but a respected leader in the law enforcement community. And the open letter is called an open letter to Indianapolis residents, do better. And he's talking about the need to cut down on the amount of violence being perpetrated by very, very young offenders right here in Marion County. We had a literal mass shooting just off Monument Circle. I mean, a stone's throw, literally a stone's throw from where I'm doing radio right now at 40 Monument Circle. And it was close to a dozen people shot. A couple people lost their lives. And these are juveniles. These are kids shooting each other. And it keeps happening over and over. We had another shooting then on Monument Circle. I think it was 7 people lost their lives over the 4th of July weekend. And these are unsupervised juveniles. And some of the people being shot or doing the shooting, we're talking about 13, 14, 15-year-olds who are getting dropped off, downtown completely unsupervised and who are running around with guns. And Rick Snyder's open letter to Indianapolis residents and saying do better is the community, in particular parents, need to do a better job of supervising these kids, staying abreast of their whereabouts, controlling their behavior, not allowing them to access guns that may be in the home. But invariably, where you have a breakout of violence, people start talking about passing laws. Well, we need this gun control law and that gun control law. We've heard that from the Marion County prosecutor, Ryan Mears. We've heard it from Joe Hogsett. Because, you know, the Democrats in Marion County have never heard of a gun control proposal that they didn't like. And they'll seize on any eruption of violence like this and say, well, we clearly need more laws. Which makes no sense whatsoever when there are a myriad of laws that are currently being broken for these people to commit the crimes to begin with. And there's a paragraph, and listen, I don't think this is Rick's primary point, but it's an important point. He's talking about the community needs to rise up and get control of our children as a community. And violent perpetrators need to be prosecuted to the full extent of the law and gotten off the streets and held accountable. But as an important corollary to that, and he takes a paragraph to make this point, and as someone who resists gun control, as a completely illegitimate, in my mind, effort to address problems with violence, this paragraph definitely caught my attention. And I quoted it on my social media, both on Twitter or X, if you want to call it that, and Facebook, which is this. If anyone alludes to Indiana's gun laws as the problem, they are either ignorant or deliberately indifferent to the facts. Juveniles have never been able to legally possess firearms. Pointing guns, firing guns, and shooting people in acts of wanton violence are crimes and always have been. And the point is an obvious one, which is that if there are any number of different crimes these people are committing and laws that they're violating, including a law against, say, murder or something like aggravated battery, which applies when you shoot someone or shoot at someone, or attempted murder, if you're not afraid of a murder charge, how much are you going to be afraid of the next law that Democrats want to pass in Marion County? If you're willing to shoot someone in cold blood because of some beef or because of whatever these juveniles are shooting each other over, what's the next law going to be? And I never understood the argument that these people are committing all these various crimes, but if we just pass one more law, they'll suddenly begin obeying that law. Oh, that new law? Well, I better abide by that. I'm not willing to abide by the law against murder. But, oh, that new law, oof, boy, I definitely better comply with that one. Does anybody believe that? No, and they shouldn't. So thanks to Rick Snyder for including that point in a very powerful letter. I commend it to your reading. Check it out. You can see it on my social media. You can find it in IBJ, an open letter to Indianapolis residents by Rick Snyder, FOP president. Right now, I'm way past the three-quarter hour. We'll come back and wrap up this show when we come back. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
It's another week of this.
There's a very good chance that we'll have a settlement.
And another day for this.
Water rose 28 foot in 45 minutes.
Plus, another possibility of this.
Monitor the weather condition, the National Weather Service.
That's why another update is just minutes away.
Start saying we're not taking this anymore.
Just another day.
Not with all this happening.
Every day.
Happening now.
93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Guy Relford for Tactical Firearms Training. Our next Essentials of Indiana Gun Law class coming up at Parabellum Firearms and Indoor Range, Saturday, October 18th. $50 for an individual, $95 for couples. Sign up right online at tactical-firearms.com. Just click on upcoming courses at tactical-firearms.com.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
PA Jewelers at the Farmhouse is now open and ready to serve you. Whether you're buying jewelry or selling jewelry, PA Jewelers has got you covered. One-of-a-kind pieces, vintage pieces. Make an appointment, sit down with them in the buy room, and find out how you can get that special piece made just for you. Easy to get to in Brownsburg. See everything they have to offer in a no-pressure environment. PA Jewelers at the Farmhouse, now open in Brownsburg. 317-456-4010. That's 456-4010. Or online at pajewelers.jewelry. pajewelers.jewelry.
Get ready to hit the links. The golf outing presented by Franciscan Health is almost ready to tee off. Join us Thursday, August 7th at the Legends Golf Course in Franklin. It's more than a round of golf. It's for a great cause. Proceeds benefit the Franciscan Health Foundation. Franciscan Health will host free cancer screenings on site, and you'll also find a silent auction, longest drive competition, and more. Be proactive about your health and get some swings in. It's a great excuse to take a day off work. Sign up now at 1075thefan.com.
My name is Ariel. When I arrived in the U.S. at 19, I struggled to find job opportunities without my high school diploma. My entire life changed when I took a chance and got my high school diploma at age 22. Everything I have, my education, my career, my marriage, I owe to the Adult Literacy Center and my teachers. They were with me every step of the way, helping with my English and math, making sure I push through all the challenges.
Ariel, your success proves that what I'm doing as a teacher has real meaning.
It was an honor helping you achieve your greatness. Now you're helping others achieve theirs. It inspires me.
Education was the key that unlocked all my opportunities.
When you graduate, they graduate. Find free and supportive adult education centers near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Over the last few years, things have gotten weird.
And for our kids, these things can be overwhelmingly stressful.
Scientific research
and real-life experience
tell us that the #1 antidote to stress is authentic, trusted relationships.
So that's why I
am committed to building and maintaining a trusted space.
This is a trusted space.
Access free films and resources to build trusted spaces in your schools and communities at atrustedspace.org.
Addiction doesn't just affect one person, it touches everyone around them. That's why Matt Baer and Ryan Hedrick created the Supporting Sobriety podcast. It's for the friends and family standing behind, offering hope, guidance, and real talk. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts. Now you've got a gun guy. Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back for what is a bit of a short segment. We've only got a couple of minutes here before we need to wrap up this show. But addressing the violence among very young offenders in downtown Indianapolis, one thing that I posted on is that, there is a curfew in effect in downtown Indianapolis. It's not a criminal statute. There's an ordinance that says if you're underage, you can't be out past certain times. Times are different depending on whether it's weekend or during the week. But I posted on this, and I think it bears some discussion, which is if a law enforcement officer reasonably suspects you of an ordinance violation or an infraction, like a traffic stop is an infraction, speeding is an infraction, ordinance violation. The law in Indiana says they can detain you and ask for ID. Now, I'm as conscious of the Fourth Amendment as I am the Fifth. But here's a possibility, and I threw this possibility out there. If people are obviously underage running around downtown after curfew, the law says they can be stopped and asked for ID. As part of a brief detainment to check ID, they can also be patted down. Again, what's called a stop and frisk. If that pat down reveals a weapon and they're underage, that's now a crime. Ryan Mears came out, Marion County prosecutor, and said, listen, violation of curfew is not a crime. That's not within the purview of the prosecutor's office. That's right. But if they're checked for violating curfew and they're found with a weapon, a juvenile in possession of a weapon, a firearm in particular, is called dangerous possession of a firearm by a juvenile. that is a crime. They can be arrested for that, and that does fall within the purview of the prosecutor's office. And listen, we want to be very conscious of Fourth Amendment issues here. And I'm not talking about just broad sweeps, not based on reasonable suspicion. But there's something to be had here, which is if they're after curfew and they're running around with guns, there's a way to check that and potentially get some of these violent juveniles off the street. That's it for this week's show. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for listening. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Everybody knows Hubler's got the best warranty around. 10 years, 200,000 miles. But did you know? Now you can get that same limited powertrain warranty on new Toyotas. Introducing the all-new Hubler Toyota. Get grand opening savings all month long. And right now, lease a new 2025 RAV4, just $349 per month. Or a new Tacoma, $299 per month. Plus, choose from Camrys, Corollas, Highlanders, Tundras, and more.
Hubler's got you covered.
At the all-new Hubler Toyota on US 31 South in Indianapolis. Visit HublerToyota.com. Grand opening savings and the best warranty around. 10 years, 200,000 miles.
Cover me!
Select models, approved credit, plus tax tag title license 199 dealer doc. RAV4 model 4432, Tacoma model 7540, 36 months, $29.99 due, 0 security, 10,000 annual miles, 15 cents per mile thereafter.